Greetings and welcome back to Room 303 in Sophomore English. We are in the MyPerspectives volume number 2. We are in Unit 4, All That Glitters, and we are on page 471. Margie Goldsmith's The Thrill of the Chase. It is, of course, ironic that Miss Goldsmith's last name will, in fact, include the word gold in it. This is a fascinating reading that will extend our thinking about the whole notion of all that glitters and what it is that we spend our life's energies going after. We'll start with a bit of background information on page 471, 470, and then we'll jump into the reading itself.
The Thrill of the Chase by Margie Goldsmith, magazine article.
471.
Background. This article chronicles the controversy surrounding a modern-day hunt for a real-life buried treasure.
Mark it.
Fascination with buried treasure probably has its origin with the pirate William Kidd,
Mark that.
who was said to have buried a chest full of gold doubloons somewhere on Long Island in the 17th century. Though Kidd's treasure was never found, it spawned a host of stories and legends. In the United States, pirate legends soon evolved into Wild West legends,
Mark that.
in which notorious bank robbers, outlaws, and prospectors hid their riches in remote mountain wilderness areas. Very few of these mysterious treasures have ever been found. About the author.
Page 470.
Margie Goldsmith, born 1945, is a writer, an athlete, a filmmaker, and a novelist. Most of all, she is an adventurer who has traveled to 130 different countries to research the articles she has written.
Mark that.
Writing for such publications as National Geographic and the New York Times, Goldsmith has reported on some of the world's most exotic locales, including Tibet, Antarctica, Easter Island, and Borneo. When she isn't trekking to some far-flung place, Goldsmith lives in New York City, where she likes to explore the wilds of Central Park. The Thrill of the Chase by Margie Goldsmith.
Page 471.
Blame Ralph Lauren. In 1996, the designer paid a visit to his friend Forrest Fenn, who lived in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Fenn had recently undergone chemo and radiation for kidney cancer, and was told there was only a 20% chance for his survival. He sold his successful Santa Fe art gallery and settled in to await the inevitable. While he did, many friends stopped by to visit him and his wife at home. The place was filled with more than 5,000 pieces of museum-quality Southwestern art and artifacts.
Mark that.
From Sitting Bull's pipe and an 18th century painted buffalo skin to early Indian pottery and rare Plains Indian medicine bonnets. Loren immediately fell in love with a Crow Indian hat covered in white ermine skins and carved antelope horns, and offered to buy it. Fenn refused, saying it was one of his favorites. Loren said, "Well, you can't take it with you." To which Fenn replied, "Then I'm not going."
Mark it.
Though the hat remained safely ensconced in Fenn's collection, Loren's visit gave the ailing art collector an idea. Inspired by the adventure stories he had devoured as a child, Fenn sat down to write a memoir, jotting down scenes and remembrances as they came to him. As an Air Force pilot during the Vietnam War, he flew 328 missions and was shot down twice.
Mark that.
After the war, he turned to art, settling in Santa Fe with his wife, Peggy, and opening Fenn Gallery, which became the most successful art gallery in New Mexico.
472.
Fenn's holdings included Remingtons and Russells and O'Keeffe's, every big name in Western art.
Mark it.
And many of those works are now in museums, ranging from the Buffalo Bill Historical Center in Cody, Wyoming,
Mark it.
to the Art Institute of Chicago. Buying and selling art was how Fenn came to know Loren, yes, but also Robert Redford, Jacqueline Onassis, Sam Shepard, Jessica Lange, Steven Spielberg, and Donna Karan.
Important
And that's
names.
when things got interesting. As he wrote, Fenn was reminded of how much fun he'd had hunting down fine art pieces and building his collection over the decades. He felt it would be a shame if all that ended with his death?
Mark it.
The memoir would help preserve his legacy, of course, but as he saw it, there was only one way to pass along that sense of delight, that thrill of the hunt. So Fenn bought an antique bronze chest and started to fill it with treasures. The booty included a jar full of gold dust panned in Alaska, gold coins, large and small gold nuggets, pre-Columbian gold animal figures, 2 ancient Chinese jade carvings, a 17th century Spanish gold and emerald ring, and a beloved bracelet of turquoise beads, excavated from a Mesa Verde ruin in 1903 that Fenn had won in a game of pool. The total value amounted to about $3 million.
Mark that.
Fenn decided he would hide the chest with a copy of his book in the desert, maybe even as he walked out into the wilderness to die. That could trigger a hunt of its own, spark some excitement. One day, an intrepid searcher would find his bones and his treasure and learn who he was. Think kindly of him.
Mark that.
His memory would live on. It seemed like a perfect plan, except for one hitch. Fenn didn't die.
Mark that.
Forrest Fenn's cancer went into remission, and it stayed that way. As a result, he didn't quite get around to burying that treasure. More than a dozen years passed. Then, in 2010, Fenn turned 80, and the milestone spurred him back into action. I had this treasure chest full of gold and jewels just burning a hole in my vault, he says. So I decided to go ahead and hide it somewhere in the mountains north of Santa Fe,
Mark it.
leaving clues on how to find it for any searcher willing to try. The clues are encoded in the memoir he self-published that year, The Thrill of the Chase. There are 9 of them, all contained in a single poem Fenn wrote.
Mark this.
As I have gone alone in there, and with my treasures bold, I can keep my secret where, and hint of riches new and old. Begin it where warm waters halt, and take it in the canyons down, not far, but too far to walk. Put in below the home of Brown. From there it's no place for the meek. The end is ever drawing nigh. There'll be no paddle up your creek, just heavy loads and water high. If you've been wise and found the blaze, look quickly down your quest to cease, but tarry scant with marvel gaze. Just take the chest and go in peace. So why is it that I must go and leave my trove for all to seek? The answer I already know. I've done it tired, and now I'm weak.
Mark it.
So hear me all and listen good. Your effort will be worth the cold. If you are brave and in the wood, I give you title to the gold. As word spread about what Fenn had done, treasure hunters rushed to Santa Fe. Based on the 5,000 plus emails he has received about the treasure,
Mark it.
he estimates that more than 1,000 people have searched for it, though he assumes there must be others out there that he doesn't know about. Many who contact Fenn are looking for a little extra help. Others simply want to share their stories. Dear Mr. Fenn, wrote one, we don't think we will find the treasure chest, but I just want to thank you for getting me and my family off of the couch and out into the mountains.
Mark it.
Another man told of how he went out to look with his grown son. The two slept in a van and talked about their hopes for the future. They gave up the search after 2 days, but it wasn't a wasted effort, the father wrote. If it hadn't been for the book, my son and I would never have had this time with each other.
Mark it.
Which isn't to say the quest should be undertaken lightly. There are dangers involved, Fenn says. Things can complicate the search. Earthquakes, mudslides, forest fires, floods, trees, falling rocks. There are those who have been at risk in water when they attempted to search someplace where it was not really safe to go. Some have not been prepared to face the elements after they parked their car and started walking. Some have lacked the proper clothing, food, and water. One eager individual donned scuba gear and swam along the bottom of a murky lake until he almost ran out of air.
Mark that.
Another rode 28 miles on a bicycle in the snow and almost froze after getting wet.
Page
Fenn
474.
says. Still, the treasure hunters keep coming. One Chicago couple, for instance, has traveled to New Mexico 14 times
Mark it.
to look for Fenn's prize. In an email, the wife told Fenn, "We are experts on where the treasure is not."
Mark that.
What serious adventurers should remember, Fenn says, is to not believe anything that is not in my poem or otherwise in my book. There's some misinformation out there. For instance, I never said I buried the chest. I said only that I hid it. That is not to say it is not buried, so maybe we need to define the terms. Does hidden mean in plain sight? What is the difference between buried, entombed, and sepultured?
Mark
What does
that.
the word blaze in the poem mean? A horse can have a blaze on its forehead. A blaze can be scraped on a tree to mark one's way. A blaze can mean a flame or a scar on a rock. And what about water high? Does it mean deep or higher than normal? Fenn generally refuses to give additional clues, but he'll make the rare exception, of sorts. When one woman emailed him to complain that the clues were too difficult, he told her the treasure chest is located more than 300 miles west of Toledo.
Mark that.
Beyond queries from treasure seekers, Fenn has also received a number of letters from people simply wondering why on earth he would do this. "I wanted to create some intrigue and adventure, and maybe a little mystery,"
Mark
Fenn
that.
explains. Plus, he says, anyone who dies with over $50 is a failure.
Mark that.
Finding Fenn's treasure has proved so difficult that some are left questioning whether the whole thing is an elaborate hoax. But doubters need only ask Fenn's friend, Douglas Preston, a best-selling author whose novel The Codex is based on Fenn's story.
Mark that.
"That gold is out there. I held it with my own hands," says Preston, one of the few to have seen the chest before Fenn hid it. Some of the most wonderful things in the treasure are enormous gold nuggets the size of hen's eggs, weighing more than a pound each, and worth several times their bullion value. He included things that would survive a long time, and that would be interesting and unusual. And the chest itself is quite rare. It's a Romanesque lockbox from the 12th century, and with the gold and jewels inside, it weighs 42 pounds.
Mark it.
Surprisingly, there have been only a few items about the treasure in the local newspaper or on the news. But there are certainly other signs of it around Santa Fe. The Inn and Spa at Loretto offers guests a thrill of the chase package, which includes 2 nights accommodations, a scavenger hunt, and an autographed copy of Fenn's book. There's also a thrill of the chase signature cocktail, a blend of light rum, sweet vermouth, and amaretto di Serrano sprinkled with gold flakes, and a Forrest Fenn sandwich consisting of pastrami with apple sauerkraut on marble rye, Fenn's favorite. When Fenn himself walks down the street these days, locals constantly stop him. They want to know if anyone has found the treasure.
475.
Others shake his hand and call him a hero.
Mark that.
Local jeweler Mark Howard hails Fenn as a cross between Will Rogers and Mark Twain.
Mark that.
He's a story weaver and has created a legacy that will reach out into the future. Fenn is modest about the whole thing, though. "I was hoping the treasure chase would cause some excitement and get a few guys out into the mountains," he says. "I did not expect it to get so big so fast." He hasn't gone back to his hiding place to see if the treasure is still there. He assumes it hasn't been found, though he knows of more than a few people who have searched within 500 feet of the site,
Mark that.
and that suits him fine. "I think that I'll be a little disappointed when it is found, because the mystery will be gone." One clue follower, Dale Neitzel, has been looking for the treasure for more than 2 years. He's already made 5 trips down from his home in Washington State and plans to keep looking. Not that the booty is Neitzel's primary motivation. Finn's treasure hunt has turned into something bigger, something more meaningful.
Mark that.
Forrest Finn is the hider of undiscovered dreams for thousands of folks who go looking for that treasure, he says, and discover not the place where the treasure is hidden, but the place in their heart where adventure sleeps and trails begin.
It's a wonderful story because it challenges us to consider the power of a story that would lead us to go on a journey. Of course, at 3A, we can write down the great journeys. Obviously, Homer's Odyssey comes to mind. And at 3B, how about you? What would be the motivation you might find to go and look for a treasure like this? I've had a few students who have said that maybe they will want to go and find or look for that treasure. But isn't it true in the end that when we look for treasure, we usually find the treasure somewhere buried deep within? And that's what makes us happy. Thank you.